Let me ask you a question that might sting for a moment. If Jesus promised, "Ask and you shall receive," then why do millions pray every single day, yet nothing in their lives ever truly changes? Why do they kneel, they beg, they cry out to heaven, only to wake up to the same struggles, the same debts, the same broken relationships? Is the promise false? Or are we missing something? Here's the paradox. The man who healed the blind, who raised the dead, who spoke of a kingdom not of this world, was not giving us poetry, he was giving us physics. And yet most people treat his words as empty ritual. They pray without understanding the mechanism. They believe with their lips while doubting in their hearts. They ask but never receive. It's like trying to plant a seed in barren soil and wondering why the tree never grows. So here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not that God isn't listening. It's not that the universe is ignoring you. It's that you've been taught the wrong way to activate the law. And once you understand the hidden side of Christ's message, the one that modern science now confirms, you'll realize something shocking. You were never waiting for God to act. God was waiting for you. So let's clear away the fog. Jesus was not asking for blind belief. He was pointing to a universal principle, one that today's science finally has the language to describe. When he said, "Ask, believing you have already received, and it shall be yours," he wasn't giving you poetry. He was revealing a mechanism, a formula, a law as real as gravity, as measurable as light. The misunderstanding of faith. See, for centuries we've been taught that faith means hoping for something you cannot see, that it's about waiting patiently, proving loyalty by enduring suffering, and maybe, just maybe, God will reward you if he feels like it. But that's not what Jesus demonstrated. When he touched the sick and said, "Be healed," it was not a lottery ticket. It was certainty. It was embodiment. It was alignment between thought, emotion, and the infinite field of possibility. Faith was not wishing. Faith was knowing. Faith was collapsing potential into reality by embodying the outcome in the present moment. That's why he said, "Your faith has made you whole." Not your begging, not your waiting, not your tears. Your faith, your alignment, your coherent signal with the source, the quantum parallel. Now let's bring it into today's language. Quantum physics tells us that the world is not made of solid matter, but of waves of probability. Every particle exists in multiple states until observation collapses it into one. What does that mean in plain words? It means reality itself responds to the signal you broadcast. It means your mind and heart, when aligned, become the observer that decides which version of reality will materialize. This is not mystical fluff. It's the reason why two people in the exact same situation can create completely different outcomes. One sees opportunity, feels gratitude, takes bold steps, and doors open. The other sees limitation, feels fear, hesitates, and the doors remain shut. The environment is the same. The difference is the signal they're sending. Jesus as the master of the signal. This is exactly what Jesus modeled. When he said, "I and the Father are one," he was declaring perfect coherence. His thought, electric, and his feeling, magnetic, created a unified electromagnetic field. And that field interacted with the quantum fabric of reality to bring about miracles, not by chance, not by favoritism, by law. And here's the truth that will shock you. You are broadcasting the same signal every single day. The question is, what are you broadcasting? The problem with our broadcast. Most people pray with their mouths while broadcasting the opposite with their hearts. They say, "I believe in abundance," but deep down they feel lack. They say, "I am healed," but deep down they feel fear. They say, "I trust," but deep down they doubt. And the universe doesn't respond to words, it responds to coherence. That's why so many prayers go unanswered, not because God ignores them, but because the signal is divided. Jesus said it himself, "A house divided cannot stand." The example of the seed. Think of it like planting a seed. If you bury the seed in the soil, but every morning you dig it back up to check if it's growing, what happens? The seed never sprouts. That's how most people treat their desires. They plant it with one prayer of belief, then dig it up with a dozen doubts, and then they wonder why nothing grows. Jesus was teaching us, once you plant, leave it. Water it with feeling. Nourish it with certainty. Act as though it's already on its way. That is faith. That is coherence. That is manifestation. Interactive exercise, feeling the already. Let's try something right now. Think of one thing you deeply desire. Maybe it's healing. Maybe it's financial freedom. Maybe it's love. Now close your eyes for just a moment and imagine, not as if it's far away, but as if it's already yours. Feel the relief in your chest. Feel the gratitude rising in your heart. Feel the joy as though it's happening right now. For these few seconds, you are no longer asking. You are living it. You are broadcasting a coherent signal, and the universe is listening. That's the secret Jesus was pointing to, not waiting for heaven to act, but embodying heaven on earth through your state of being. The practical law of faith. Here's the formula in its simplest form. 1. Thought, electric, your clear intention. 2. Feeling, magnetic, the elevated emotion of it already being real. 3. Coherence, the union of the two, broadcasting a powerful signal into the field. When your thought and feeling are aligned, the wave collapses. Reality responds. The potential becomes actual. That's why Jesus said, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Not, "it might be." Not, "if you're lucky." It will, because the law does not fail. The challenge of consistency. But let's be honest. It's easy to feel aligned for a moment. It's easy to close your eyes and imagine once or twice. The challenge is sustaining it. Because life throws distractions, fear creeps in, old habits return. That's where most people fail. Not in the asking, not in the initial belief, but in the consistency of holding the state long enough for the manifestation to crystallize. And that's why we need to go deeper. The transition to the bigger problem. So here's the bigger question. If the law is this clear, why do so many people still sabotage themselves? Why do they feel aligned one day, then fall back into doubt the next? Why do they send a powerful signal for a moment, only to scramble it with fear hours later? That is the real enemy, not lack of faith, but divided faith, not lack of intention, but inconsistent intention. And until we face that bigger problem, the law will keep slipping through our fingers. So far it all seems simple, doesn't it? Ask with certainty. Feel as if it is already done. Broadcast a coherent signal, and the universe responds. But if it's that simple, why do so many fail? Why do most people experience flashes of hope, brief moments of alignment, only to fall back into the same frustration, the same waiting, the same disappointment? The answer is uncomfortable, because most people are unknowingly undoing their own manifestation. The house divided, Jesus said it clearly. A house divided cannot stand, and yet that is exactly how most people live. They pray for abundance in the morning, and by noon they are complaining about bills. They visualize love in meditation, and by evening they are scrolling in envy through social media, reinforcing loneliness. They say, "I believe," but deep down they feel doubt, fear, and lack. Their house is divided, their signal is scrambled, their energy is incoherent, and an incoherent signal cannot collapse reality into form. The example of the radio. Think of it like tuning into a radio station. If you set the dial to 101.1 FM, you'll hear music, But if you keep turning the dial back and forth between stations, what do you get? Static, noise, confusion. That's exactly what most people do with their desires. One day they're tuned into the frequency of gratitude and certainty. The next day they're tuned back into fear and worry. The result is static. Nothing comes through clearly. The station is broadcasting 24/7. The problem isn't the station. The problem is your tuning. The self-sabotage cycle. Let's make this even clearer. Step 1. You pray, you visualize, you align, you feel powerful. Step 2. Hours later, something triggers fear. You start doubting. You replay old stories. Step 3. That doubt cancels the signal you sent earlier. Step 4. You repeat the cycle tomorrow, and then you tell yourself, it doesn't work, God doesn't hear me. The law of attraction is a lie, but it's not the law that fails. It's your inconsistency that scrambles the outcome. Imagine placing an order online for a car, but every morning you log in and change the color, the model, the size. By the end of the week, what happens? Your order never ships. Not because the company doesn't want to send it, but because you never finalize the request. That is how most people treat their desires. The fear that cancels the signal. Here's the deeper layer. Doubt is not neutral. Doubt is an energy. Fear is an energy. Worry is an energy. Every time you fall into those emotions, you're not just pausing your manifestation. You're actively broadcasting the opposite signal. You are literally telling the field, I don't have it, I can't have it, I don't believe it, and the field, obeying the law, mirrors it back. That's why cycles repeat. That's why prayers feel empty. That's why hope turns into bitterness. It's not because God is cruel. It's because your own fear keeps hitting the cancel button. Interactive reflection. Let's pause here and get personal. Think back to something you've been asking for. Maybe a financial breakthrough, maybe a new opportunity, maybe healing in your body. Now ask yourself honestly, how many times have I felt grateful as if it's already mine? And how many times have I complained, doubted, or worried that it will never come? That's your divided signal. That's the static in your broadcast. And until you become aware of it, you'll keep wondering why nothing changes. The body's betrayal. There's another reason why this problem is so powerful. Your body has memorized your past emotions. It's addicted to fear, to stress, to worry. So even when your mind says, I believe, your body pulls you back into the familiar feelings of lack. It's like trying to drive a car with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. No matter how hard you press the accelerator, the car doesn't move. And eventually, you get exhausted and give up. That's why change feels so hard, not because the law doesn't work, but because your body keeps demanding its daily dose of the past. The emotional contradiction. Here's a painful truth. Most people spend 5 minutes in coherent prayer, and the next 23 hours broadcasting incoherence. They close their eyes, imagine abundance, and feel good for a moment. But the rest of the day, they're stressed, angry, worried, frustrated. And guess which signal the universe hears louder? Not the 5 minutes of alignment, but the 23 hours of contradiction. It's like whispering yes while shouting no. Which one do you think carries more weight? The bigger problem defined. So here is the real problem, the one most never confront. You are not failing to manifest because you lack faith. You are failing because your faith is divided. One part of you believes, another part of you doubts. One part of you asks. Another part cancels the request. You are like a house divided against itself, and that house cannot stand. Why this hurts so much? And this realization cuts deep, because it explains why you've tried so hard for so long and still feel stuck. It's not because you're unworthy. It's not because the promise was false. It's not because God turned his back. It's because you were fighting yourself. And until you learn how to unite your signal, how to sustain coherence without canceling it with fear, nothing can change. The setup for the solution. So the question now is, how do you stop undoing your own prayers? How do you stop broadcasting static? How do you finally send one clear, consistent, powerful signal into the field, long enough for reality to bend to it? Because that is the path to real manifestation. That is the key to unlocking the law that Jesus spoke of. And in the next step, I will show you exactly how. The practice, the alignment, the state of being that takes you from a house divided to a temple of power, where your thought and your feeling no longer betray each other, but unite as one. So now we arrive at the moment of truth. You've seen why so many prayers go unanswered. You've seen why faith without understanding collapses into frustration. You've seen the bigger problem, the divided signal, the house that cannot stand. But here is the definitive solution, the hidden key Jesus encoded in his words, one that modern science now validates. You must unite your thought and your feeling, your mind and your heart, until they speak with one voice. Because when they do, creation responds instantly. The blueprint of creation. Let's break it down. Your thoughts are electric. Your feelings are magnetic. Together, they generate the electromagnetic field that interacts with the quantum fabric of reality. When the two are misaligned, your broadcast is weak, static, incoherent. But when your thought and your feeling merge into perfect coherence, you're no longer hoping. You're no longer wishing. You're no longer begging. You are being. You are embodying the reality now. You are broadcasting a clear, unified frequency. And the law, which never fails, responds. Jesus' hidden formula. This is why Jesus could say things like, "The Father and I are one. Greater works than these shall you do. The kingdom of God is within you." He wasn't placing himself on a pedestal. He was modeling the state of union. Union with Source, union within himself, union of intention and feeling. And he was pointing at you, reminding you that the same power is within your reach. You are God's, not metaphor, mechanism, the practice of coherence. So how do you apply this? Here is the practice, simple but life-altering. 1. Set the intention, mind. Choose one clear desire, not 10. 1. Write it down. Define it, be specific. 2. Generate the feeling, heart. Close your eyes and imagine it already done. Feel the gratitude as if it's present now. Gratitude is the ultimate signal. It tells the universe the gift has already been received. 3. Merge the two. Hold the thought in your mind while amplifying the feeling in your chest. With every inhale, see it. With every exhale, feel it. Thought plus feeling merged into one coherent field. 4. Sustain it. Practice this daily, not for hours, but consistently, even just 10 minutes. Because every time you enter coherence, you carve a deeper trail in your brain, a stronger imprint in your body, a louder signal into the field. The emotional proof. Here's how you know it's working. Your body starts to believe, your nervous system relaxes, your heart expands. You begin to feel lighter, freer, as if the burden has lifted, even before anything happens externally. That shift is not imagination. That shift is proof, because the inner change precedes the outer change. The story of two builders. Remember the parable Jesus told of the two builders. One built his house on sand, the other on rock. The house on sand collapsed when the storm came. Why? Because the foundation was divided. The house on rock endured. Why? Because the foundation was united. This wasn't just a moral story, it was a manifestation manual. Your house is your life. Your foundation is your coherence. When your thought and feeling are united, no storm can shake the outcome. The shift of identity. Here's the real magic. Once you practice coherence long enough, it stops being something you do. It becomes who you are. The same way you once memorized fear, you can now memorize gratitude. The same way you once memorized stress, you can now memorize peace. The same way you once memorized survival, you can now memorize creation. And when it becomes automatic, reality bends effortlessly. Because you're no longer waiting to become that person, you already are. Science meets spirit. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, your brain wiring new patterns. Quantum physics calls it wave collapse, energy becoming matter. Jesus called it faith, the certainty of things unseen, the evidence of things hoped for, different languages, same law. And when you live by it, you stop asking, when will my miracle come? Because you realize you are the miracle. The trap of waiting. But let me warn you, the biggest trap you must avoid is waiting. Most people live as if they're saying, I'll feel grateful once it happens. I'll feel happy once I have it. I'll feel free once I see proof. That's backwards. That's incoherence. That's divided faith. You must reverse it. Feel now what you expect later. Be now who you desire to become. Live now in the vibration of your answered prayer. That's the only way the door opens. A living example. Let me share with you an image. A woman struggling with illness decided to practice this. Every morning, instead of waking up in fear, she closed her eyes and imagined walking with strength. She felt gratitude as if the healing was complete. She cried, not tears of pain, but tears of joy, living in the reality of her wholeness before it arrived. Weeks later, doctors found her condition reversed. They called it spontaneous remission. But she knew it wasn't spontaneous. It was coherence. Her thought and her feeling had merged, and the law responded, the final call. So here is your invitation. Stop treating manifestation as a lottery. Stop treating prayer as a ritual of begging. Stop living as a house divided. Instead, step into union. Union of mind and heart. Union of intention and emotion. Union with the source that has always been within you. Because when you do, you won't need to chase abundance. It will find you. You won't need to beg for healing. Your body will respond. You won't need to doubt your future. You will be living it now. That is the hidden teaching of Jesus. That is the quantum law. That is the definitive solution. Closing words. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. You are not waiting for permission. You are one with the source. You are the signal. You are the creator. So breathe it, feel it, be it, because the kingdom of heaven is not far away. It is within you, waiting to be broadcast into reality. If these words awaken something inside you, don't let it fade back into the noise of life. Take one small action right now to anchor this truth. Click like to declare your alignment. Leave a comment below and write, I am one with the source, because when you speak it, you claim it. And subscribe with the bell on, because every video here is another key, another parable, another doorway into the reality Jesus was pointing to. You are not waiting for miracles. You are the miracle. Now join us so together we can broadcast this light to the world.